Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up.
Ember. Oh, Ember.
Miss Ember.
Oh, great, Ember. Tell me what I'm doing.
Hey, Ember. How you doing?
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
We will be yelling at Ember.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God, Ember. Ember. Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
Ember.
We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
We're neighbors, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
What's up, Ember?
I see you, Ember.
I only have eyes for Ember.
But hey, Ember is hot.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. It's probably Wednesday. You know, I need to stop saying the day because it makes it like less immediate for people watching later. So, hello, future people on the day of your choice. I am joined once again by Lil. Hello, Lil. How are you?
Hello. I'm pretty damn fantastic. I had a really fun night last night, so
Adventures?
sort of, yeah. I was editing a video and could not stop laughing the entire damn time.
Okay. I mean, that's better than many possible alternatives.
Mhm.
Oh, goodness. All right, folks. A couple of quick notes. We're having a very hard time with a whole lot of things all at once. Many of you know some of them. Some of you know more than others. Some of you know nothing, and that's fine. We love to see you either way. We got to make some changes. We have to make some changes. So next week, we're going to be doing an experiment. We're actually experimenting on several things at once. I'm reversing which videos are horizontal and which ones are vertical. TLDR, this show's going to be vertical next week, and the bonus shows will be the horizontal ones because we have to get more traffic. Like, we have to. This channel will not survive. Also, we need to shorten it the fuck up. There's several tools and things that YouTube is pushing, and they're downgrading videos that don't do it. TLDR, we have to get these videos under 60 minutes. So we're going to have a slightly shorter show, and it's going to be vertical. I hope y'all are up for the ride, because it means we're going to have to cut out some of the things that aren't actually the video. Like most of the notes section, I probably should reduce the countdown in the beginning, because that's 3 minutes. And if I only have 59 minutes, now it matters, you know? Things like that. So be advised, and you know, notes, well, we can note. I think probably one workaround is we'll do, like I already do a monthly member stream. We'll probably do a second stream for people who are both members and non-members that is like separate from the daily show, so that we can get some hangout time and talk about things, you know, like life things as we do, since it won't be part of the daily show anymore. I don't know what else may be involved, but we're going to try it, and it's a scary thing. So we're doing horror things. Like the whole week is themed horror. Like in December we did Atheist Advent. This is going to be horror week. So it should be fun, hopefully, and I hope y'all are down for it. And also, like, tell your friends, you know. Seth says, please don't lose the tangents. I don't think I can if I wanted to, but also it's the hard thing, you know, because I realize the tangents are why the people who are here, but I suspect it may be why the people who aren't here. You know what I mean? Like, I've been leaning into it for 6 or 7 months or whatever. And the people who come here, the numbers keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I appreciate all of you who do come. It's just, I'm a very TISM person, and I tend to drive people away and have no idea why. And so I'm just kind of like trying to find my way out of, you know, blindfolded and in a room with no lights, you know? It just, I'm doing my best here, folks, and we're trying. So yeah, anyway, today we're doing history's first lost Amazon shipment. It's true. It's true. The ship is called the Mary Celeste, but when it was painted, its original name was Amazon. And it wasn't exactly lost at sea. It's more like the problem is it was found at sea. It, as the title indicates, it was a ghost ship. So another ship found it adrift in the North Atlantic. No crew. Nothing amiss. I mean, nothing especially amiss. The cargo was intact. There was plenty of food. There was like no log entry saying, oh God, the pirates are here. Like, the crew is just gone. It is worth noting, the lifeboat was gone too, which may imply something, but maybe not. But that's the mystery. What the hell happened to this ship? So we're gonna dig into it. Before we really get started, I need to turn down my heater. So Lil, what do you know about the Mary Celeste?
Pretty much what you said, but also that, like, yeah, like it looked like it was a perfectly lived in working ship. There was nothing missing. Everything was there, and everything but the lifeboat, and there was nobody on board.
Seth says they were raptured, probably.
Yeah.
It's true. It turns out they were the only good Christians. And that's it. Just bloop.
Sounds
by
legit.
sheer coincidence, all of them on the same ship.
Sounds legit.
Yeah. Zerkra says everyone who will ever be saved was on that ship. It's true. That's why we're in the era of the Antichrist or something like that. I don't know. So they found the ship drifting. They checked it out. Weird thing about it, windows were open, hatches were open. Like, everything was open, which is not something you do if you're in bad weather, or generally if you're going to abandon ship. The wheel was just loose. It was just going with the wind and the current. I mean, nobody was driving. But if you leave a ship with the intent to return, you normally lash the wheel so it stays on course. Like there's so many mysteries about it. But like not only was there no evidence of valuables being taken, but like the cargo that was quite valuable was not taken. So we don't actually know what the hell was going on. Maybe it was like some weird murder conspiracy. Maybe it was time travelers trying to like nudge the course of the future. Who knows? Maybe aliens abducted them. They were like, no one will notice if we take these humans. Bring their lifeboat too.
Or mermaids.
Could be. We're talking about mermaids tomorrow, but that's one possibility. Maybe the mermaids got them. Oh goodness. Also, an additional side note, tangent, if you will, Friday's show. Somebody reminded me that it was Friday the 13th again. So I changed the show where I moved the Pirate Queen of Ireland to the 17th because that's that's Ireland Day. And instead we're doing a Friday the 13th show. So I want to play a game, chat. I'm going to tell you stories, multiple stories about Friday the 13th killers. And you have to figure out which ones are true stories and which ones are fictional tales I made up by the end of the show. Or else. Mwah.
I'm excited for that one. I like Friday the 13th.
No, it should be fun. And it'll be good introduction to the horror week thing the next week. So yay. Or something like that. I don't know. Ryan's up in here making sacrifices to the Elgo gods. Something like that. Right. Oh, and on that note, I have to say the requisite prayers to invoke the divine favor. If you're new here, please take a minute to hit the subscribe button. Also consider using the share, because people need to know what we're doing here, and that's the only way they're ever going to find out. Hit the like, use the comments, hit the like again, leave some more comments, hit the super thanks if you want to, and then hit the like one more time. Take out your sounding rod and give those buttons a solid thwack, just for good measure. I think that covers it. I don't know. I'm a terrible minister, folks. Okay, so the Mary Celeste. It was a Canadian-built, American-registered merchant. I'm not going to get into the details. It was a brigantine that was discovered adrift and deserted in the Atlantic Ocean off the Azores on December 4th. 1872. I don't know why I have an accent suddenly, because it's an American ship, but it sounds more dramatic. The Canadian brigantine.
I like it though. It's more dramatic.
I don't know. It just happens sometimes. The Canadian brigantine De Grotti found her in a disheveled but seaworthy condition. I suspect it's the accent of the person who wrote what I'm reading. Like sometimes the accent just kind of comes through in the word choice. I don't know. Found her in a disheveled but seaworthy condition under partial sail and with her lifeboat missing. The last entry in her log was dated 10 days earlier. She had left New York City for Genoa on November 7th and was still amply provisioned when found. Her cargo of alcohol was intact. Caveat on that. The cargo was still there, but intact isn't quite correct. They were, as I understand it, they were like big bulk barrels of industrial alcohol. Like not drinkable alcohol, but like industrial alcohol, And the barrels were present, but some of them had leaked. And when a big industrial barrel leaks, that's a lot of fluid escaping. And so a big part of the suppositions of what happened while the hatches were open and things, and why there was a bunch of water in the hold. That's why they had sounding rods around and things. Was because the alcohol was making the air impossible to breathe below deck. So even though it was storming, they had to open all the hatches, or they just wouldn't be able to breathe. Possibly because it was storming, something wasn't stowed correctly and a barrel cracked open, or 9 barrels cracked open, as the case may be. Whatever the case, it was present. It wasn't stolen, but it wasn't exactly intact either. Okay. Oh, also, Lil of All Trades sends a super chat for $2. Thank you, Lil, and says, DDD, now with more accents. And Ember and Lil. Yay. Yay. Thank you, Lil. I know I should play with accents more. They're fun. I'm just so bad at them, don't you know? Let's see. 10 days earlier, Genoa on November 7th, amply for revision. Cargo of alcohol intact. Right. The captain and crew's personal belongings were undisturbed. None of those who had been on board was ever seen nor heard from again. Dun, dun, dun. Mary Celeste was built on Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia. Launched under a British registration as the Amazon in 1861. She was transferred to an American and re-registered in 1868, where she acquired her new name. Thereafter, she sailed uneventfully until her 1872 voyage. Obviously, she was taken by the crew who found her abandoned, and they were under suspicion too. What if you shoved them all overboard to take the ship? Maybe. But they because it was such a large boat, a large ship. I know some people get a little picky about the difference between a boat and a ship. A ship is something that can move under its own power. A boat is something you have to row, which makes like the Greek warships kind of both. Definitions are weird. And remember, all categories are things we made up. So, in any case, they found the ship. They had a small crew, so they tried to like sail both ships into Gibraltar. They managed it, but not well. Like no one got any sleep for days. They got overcome by fog, and one of the ships got separated and came in a day later. It just oh no. Andrew says sounding rods. Those aren't for impact play. They're for internal use. In the business, we call those a depth gauge. Oh no. Nope. Demonetized. Okay, so they brought them into Gibraltar. The court's officers considered, because the admirals have like a court, when you bring a ship in for salvage, they need to evaluate your claims and evaluate the values and like determine how much you should be awarded for salvage, or if you should just get to keep the thing, all that stuff. It's all up to courts to decide all that crap. So the Admiralty Court brings them in, and they hold their salvage hearings. The court officers considered various possibilities: foul play, including mutiny by the Mary Celeste crew, piracy, possibly by the De Gracia crew or others, but also pirates in the 1870s, 1880s, not as common as they were centuries before, but they're still around. They're still around today, you know? There's always pirates. And conspiracy to carry out insurance or salvage fraud. And that's a bit of an issue, because as it happens, a lot of boats were sacrificed for insurance fraud back in the day, because capitalism works that way. But weirdly, the Mary Celeste's eventual fate was exactly that. A future owner down the road deliberately drove her onto a reef for insurance fraud reasons. That's what happened. That's her final fate. So yeah, it happened a lot, and did actually happen to that ship eventually. Maybe this was an attempt at that. Who knows? The article says no convincing evidence supported these theories, but unresolved suspicions led to a relatively low salvage award. Now, at the time, no convincing evidence supported these theories. And that's still largely true today, yes, but there are some things that are much more plausible than others. Aliens, low likelihood. Broken alcohol making the air unbreathable, so they open all the hatches, and as soon as the weather breaks from the storm they were in, they abandon ship. Much more likely, considering there's broken alcohol and there's a bunch of storm water in the bilge, and it could be they abandoned ship in the middle of the North Atlantic. Seems unwise. Usually, you want to, as long as your ship's not on fire, you'll run a tow cable so that you're still connected to your ship, so you can be found or you can return later when conditions improve. Maybe they did that and they did it badly. Who knows? But it is a bit more likelier of a scenario than, shark pirates coming up out of the ocean and eating them, because there's no blood on the decks, there's no signs of fighting, it's just everybody just poof, but also the lifeboat's gone. And to me,
it was a Sharknado.
It was a Sharknado, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Just lifted them all right up and off the ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems to me, maybe I'm a silly, but if your crew is missing and there's no signs of violence and the lifeboat is gone, that's what happened. That's your answer right there.
Yeah.
No crew, no lifeboat, no violence. They took the lifeboat. Duh.
Yeah, they took the lifeboat. What I've heard some people posture, and I kind of think this is that what happened is they might have just all panicked, thinking there was a fire or something, so they all jumped in the lifeboat. And because the way that the seas were and stuff, the lifeboat got so far away from the ship that they couldn't get back to it. There's one thing I've heard posited. So.
God damn it, Andrew. For those of you listening along, Andrew says, and I'm going to read this out.
Oh, God.
Remember, I was AFK. But in regard to your audience deserting you, I, for one, will never give you up. I won't let you down. I won't run around. I won't desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye.
If I have that stuck in my head all day, I'm blaming you, Aunt Jer.
Okay. I'm I didn't bring it up. I just made it worse.
No, I'm blaming Aunt Jer for that
Part
one.
of my superpower. Ember, making it worse on YouTube since 2022.
Oh my God. Nah. You
New
make it
tagline. Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see. Where the hell was I? Right, salvage award. So the crew of the Savior ship, they did get paid, but they only got paid a little, which I don't know what that means because no amounts are given and there's no citations. So, but they got paid some, so that's all right. Andrew says that's okay. I have clips about you talking about Dr. Kip. Dr. Kip actually does run a school. You may have heard about this.
Meet Kip, named after a biblical scholar. Holds 0 degrees, yet remains deeply authoritative. At Kip Academy, she teaches advanced disciplines like ethical trait distribution, comparative couch theology, and vigorous face licking. Questioning authority is encouraged. Not all treats are created equal. Each snack undergoes rigorous evaluation using the sniff, lick, and stare methodology. Some are rejected, some are accepted, some are declared non-canonical. Ask Kip about theology, ask Kip about life, ask Kip if you should go outside. She will not answer, but she will judge you. Kip, named for a scholar. Correct about vibes.
So yeah.
Mhm.
Sign up and get your dog turret today, probably. I don't know. I really think you should, like, there's
Passed out right
places where
here.
you can get weird honorary diplomas just for novelty purposes, and also places where you can get other novelty, that, like being mayor of hell, for example. You can get just the certificate for a certain price. All those. The point is, you should have that, like, merch that people can buy, like, even if it's like $5 or whatever, and print out their own copy. It'd just be funny, and some people would definitely do it, especially if it's only for their puppies.
Mhm.
I don't know, just me, just my suggestion. All right, I'll get back to the point. We are here to do something after all. We can't have our tangents all day. Or can we? Mwahaha. Ooh, that would be a fun show. Oops, all tangents. Actually, that would be a bonus show. Like,
Yes.
like once a week, oops, all tangents, where we put all the tangents. Every time we try a tangent, I stop and make a note, and then we do it on that show.
That's it. Let's
That
go.
would be okay. All right, so let's see. Right, they got their salvage award. So the inconclusive nature of the hearings fostered a continued speculation as to what had happened to the ship's occupants. The story has been repeated by and been complicated by false details and fantasies. You know, as was prone to happen at the time, and still does, to be honest. But like, one person, for example, who speculated was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Early in his career, before Sherlock Holmes, he wrote J. Habakkuk Jeffson's Statement, which is a short story based on this mystery, although he spelled the vessel's name slightly differently. He spelled it Marie Celeste. But because of that, and because it was Doyle, the popularity of that version of the story is higher than people who know about the real story, even though virtually none of the details have any relationship to the real thing. It was just like, what happened to this mysteriously? Oh, and he just made it up. It's as fiction authors are wont to do, you know. But yeah, a lot of people had opinions, and it was, you know, around Jules Verne times. It was the age of high fantasy when it came to, I mean, you know, sci-fi was diverging from mainstream fiction, and people were just making all kinds of interesting stuff up. And so we had hypotheses of, you know, giant squid attacks, or water spouts, or paranormal stuff. Ghosts, aliens, angels carried them off, or just the alcohol fumes. Even a submarine earthquake. Or just the alcohol. Like, people did have the right hypothesis in the mix, or what's probably the right hypothesis in the mix. I shouldn't have spoiled it so early, but like, yeah, this is the obvious correct answer. But so after the hearings, apparently because it was salvaged, the Admiralty resold it or something. I don't know. Somehow it wound up under new owners, even though they must have known who owned it before. Whatever. In 1885, her captain deliberately wrecked her off the coast of Haiti as an attempt at insurance fraud. Words are hard, folks.
Yes, they are. It amazes me. I was editing a video last night, and it amazes me how often I trip over the simplest words that I should know. And I just, yeah. There's an outtake video after this, by the way. So
I've heard that rumor. Yes.
Yeah.
You set that for what? 12:30?
12:45. Give it a little bit of wiggle room. It's like 15 minutes. It's not that long.
Okay. So yeah, I set our redirect to go to Lil's upcoming premiere. There may be a bit of a gap between the end of this show and the start of that one. We'll see how it goes, but
it's the
you will get sent over.
Yeah, it's the updates from Mine and Seth's new show that is premiering on Friday. We were having fun with it, so why not?
I normally put the outtakes at the end of the main video, but
yeah, we consider
You know.
that, but since we're doing it on 2 channels, I'm doing the outtakes on my channel. He's releasing the episode on his channel, and next time we'll switch. So that way we both get them.
Okay.
Mhm.
So tease each other's thing. I don't know. Tubby says alcohol is the answer. It's true.
Yes, always.
I mean, in this
Well,
or lack of alcohol. I don't know. I used to say that like every story worth telling begins the same way. Well, there was this girl. I don't know if that applies in this case.
well, it depends. Are you talking about the ship though?
No, I don't know.
Ships are
Whatever works.
fast, So
I did have an English teacher when I was in high school who suggested, I know tangents. That's people come here for the tangents. They better because they're getting them either way. She was an interesting English teacher. She believed that literature by definition was phallic, that every story, every poem, every song, every philosophical concept, all of them, every human idea reduced down to penises. Everything was about penises. I challenged her on that. And it's a weird claim. When somebody makes a generalized claim and is like, all things are this thing, you only need a single exception to prove them wrong. But also, like, it's an unfalsifiable, well, it is a falsifiable claim because you only need one exception to prove them wrong. It's a weird fucking claim, right? Especially since it's more about how well you can bullshit than how true the claim is. Because I told a friend who was in a different English class the same year, and he was like, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, well, I don't know, because my contrarian nature kicked in. When somebody makes a positive position, I just want to take the other position. I don't know why I'm like this. It's just how I am. And so I said, well, hold on, it seems silly, but there may be some merit to it. I think it might be defensible, at least as an intellectual exercise. And he goes, well, that's not possible. Like, what if we talk about something inherently not penis-like a motorcycle helmet, which looks more like a boob than, and I'm like, what do you call the top part of a penis? I mean, it's not actual name, but it does look kind of like a helmet, And he's like, oh, damn it. And so he'd like think up other ideas, and I'd end up defending this weird hypothesis. And it drove me a little bit nuts because the teacher also had an extremely sexist grading policy. It was that the lowest score a girl could get on anything, if she just spelled her name right, was 80%. And the highest score a male student could possibly get was 80%. If the assignment fulfilled all the criteria, absolutely perfect. 80% was the best a male could do because they're male, because of her presupposition, her literally sexist presupposition that the very, very best a man could do is just equal to the very worst a woman could do. And she got away with it because it reversed the normal order of discrimination and therefore was also teaching a literal, as in English language, literarily relevant cultural point. But it also fucked up a lot of students' GPAs. But still. So yeah, she pissed me off a little bit with that. Not my favorite teacher.
No.
Andrew says she never met Roger from Mud Fossil University. You're probably true. I mean, okay. So one other random story about this teacher while I'm already on side time. See, this is why the show goes for 90 minutes, folks. I can cut this out and we have a 60-minute show. It won't be a problem. One day she came in and she was disheveled and upset. And of course we said, why, miss, your name here, whatever is the trouble? And she said, well, I just had the most poetic experience on my way in. I opened my front door and there was a ring of feathers on my lawn. and why this is very strange for feathers to be in a ring on my lawn. And so I went over to further investigate, and I found not only was it a pile of feathers that got denser towards the center, but in the very middle, on the very top of the pile, in the very center, was the beheaded skull of a pigeon. And we're all like low-key horrified, you know, imagining coming out our front door and seeing a dead bird parched out in our front yard like that. And she goes, "It was the most poetic moment of my life." We're like, "What is wrong with you, woman?"
Huh?
Right. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh my God.
She was an odd bird. Mm-hmm.
I thought I was weird. I seemed downright normal. Oh my God. Wow. All right.
So after the incident in 1872, the Mary Celeste, even though when she changed ownership the first time, she changed her name, in the rebuild in Gibraltar, they rebuilt her because it was salvaged. She had some damage from carrying all that water. They redid a bunch of stuff, kept the same name, even though now it's a different ship, kind of. It's weird. So she went from being 198 ton to 282 ton. That's a weight gain like, well, me last year. Literally said anyone in their like 6 months of pregnancy, but nope, I had to be weird about it. She was originally 99 feet long. After the rebuild, 103 feet. So she got taller. She clearly got an HRT. Her beam was 22.5 feet after the rebuild, 25.7 feet. So she like took a mushroom, a Mario mushroom, and like just bloop bloop bloop, you know, leveled up. Her depth, how deep the keel goes, 11.7 feet originally, 16.2 feet after the rebuild. That's 2.5 meters deeper. Wild. She originally had one deck. They added a whole other deck. So now she's got 2 decks, which, you know, I mean, 2 decks are better than one, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's interesting how she changed so much from that rebuild. I mean, I understand when you rebuild anything, you're going to change it, hopefully for the better. But it's just, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting part of the lore, but also the fact that it kept the same name when a simple change in ownership earlier merited a different name. I don't know. Say lovey. All right, so cool. For a maiden voyage in 1861, the American Civil War is getting all excitable and whatnot. The Amazon sailed to Five Islands, Nova Scotia, to take on a cargo of timber. She's made of timber, and now she's loading up on timber for passage across the Atlantic to London. After supervising the ship's loading, Captain McClellan fell ill. His condition worsened. The Amazon returned to Spencer's Island, where McClellan died on June 19th. It's what you get for trying to cross the Atlantic in an Amazon, I guess. John Nutting Parker, real name, swear to nil, took over as captain and resumed the voyage, in the course of which the Amazon encountered further misadventures. She collided with fishing equipment in the Narrows off Eastport, and after leaving London, ran into and sank a brig on the English Channel. How? How can you possibly? Did they forget how to steer? And the English Channel, you managed to hit. You sunk my battleship.
Yeah.
Clearly, she's been hauling too much alcohol all this time.
Oh, yes. Everybody on there is just permanently drunk. There's so much alcohol, like in the wood and stuff. Everybody's just permanently drunk.
Saber says, I've heard of removing decks, but I didn't know modern science had advanced to adding extra decks. It's true. I mean, you can do practically anything if you're willing to get experimental enough.
Mhm.
There's people experimenting with, like, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's based on RFID technology, where proximity to a radio frequency transmitter on the right frequency can cause a transfer of a minimal amount of electricity. It's very, very tiny, but it's enough to trigger an electrical response. And basically, they're putting very, very, very low voltage, something like LEDs, into circuitry and implanting it around the eyeball, sometimes in the eyeball, so that basically you can make your smartwatch emit a certain frequency and you get light tattoos in and around your eyeball where the tattoos actually move. It seems dangerous, but also not that dangerous. Like, what if you burn out an LED, though? Like, yes, they last a long fucking time, but what if you burn one? Well, I suppose you just do another surgery about it. Like, it's just a surface level implant. It's a very minor surgery. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, we're doing weird shit up in here, folks. It's only a matter of time before we all have 6 arms or robot bodies. You know, one of those. Would you rather have 6 arms or a robot body?
I don't know. Neither. I kind of like me the way I am.
What about a 6-armed robot body?
I think at that point I wouldn't really care because I wouldn't necessarily be me anymore.
Okay, well, let's phrase it a different way. If we develop the technology to upload your consciousness, you remain being you, you just get digitized and backed up and so forth. So you continue to be you, you just have no physical body, and now you can operate other bodies like peripherals. Maybe we do something like that one TV show where people download into the computer in the back of the spine sort of thing. So you put on bodies like the sleeves of a shirt, or maybe it's robot bodies, or maybe it's both. I don't know. But would you go with something like that?
If I could be a mermaid, yes.
I mean, probably.
And I could just walk around in the ocean all day. So,
robot.
yeah. If it's a robot body that is a mermaid, then why the hell not? Because then I could probably go to like the fucking like Challenger Deep and stuff and go exploring on my own, which will be fun.
You know what? It'd be a weird experience. So you have a couple of different options when you're uploaded into the cloud. You can either download yourself into a robot body and be locally present in the robot body, or you can operate remotely and remain in the cloud. The problem with operating it remotely is if it loses signal, you lose control. But if you operate locally, if it gets smashed, you're smashed, you know? So both have their pluses and minuses, but it raises the interesting possibility of having like the connection to a local operational intelligence, and you're just like the commanding consciousness, sort of how you are in your body, right? Like how your lower brain functions, keep your heart beating and the breathing going and the digestion running, and you're not actually thinking about it. You're just the control consciousness that decides on priorities. Like, are we going to sleep right now or are we going to eat right now? You know, that sort of thing. So if you lost connection to a robot body, then it would still retain the ability to function locally and maybe even carry out some very specific and simple directions, but it would lose the overriding consciousness. It would be like for you, if you just suddenly blanked, like you could still probably eat, even though you wouldn't like have the ability to decide it's time to eat. you could still do it if food were handed to you, though. And then later the consciousness comes back on. I mention this because there are drugs that do exactly that. But that's a whole other topic. Yes, it's many layers of tangents. I know.
Hey, we're here for the tangents. That's what we're here for.
I know. Well, it's what some people are here for. I just drove off half the audience. As one does. All right, we'll take a short break, and then we'll come back and hear a historian person's expert info. Quick question. Is there a difference between a person who studies the writings of past historians and the kind of historian who makes those writings for future people who study the work of historians? Like, is a historian the person who writes the history or the person who reads what other people wrote?
I would say both. I mean, it's just different categories of historian. I mean, because if you're studying ancient history, sometimes those histories are all you have to go on. But then if you're like in my case, where there's still people alive who still remember what happened, it's just another category. It's like, is biology science or is physics science? They're both science. Two different things.
Yeah, they're both science, but like they're different sciences, right? Like we can differentiate between physics and biology. Do we differentiate between the studier of history or the writer of the history? The reason I ask is because a weird thought keeps popping into my head. In one of the early parts of Foundation, the Isaac Asimov novel, there's an instance where historians, because the whole plot is like psychohistory is a predictive algorithm for future events for vastly large numbers of people. So it's psychoanalysis, but like prehistory, and it's weird that way, but it's actually math. Like it's just math that's using principles from these other things. And so like other historians are like, that's not history. And they get into an argument about whether humans developed originally on Earth or Alpha Eridani or Alpha Centauri or Tau Ceti. Like we don't know where the human species originally evolved. And there's historians who are saying, well, I have been to Earth and went to dig sites where there's ruins that are much older and much more primitive than on any of these other planets, where the history of human presence clearly starts at the space age, at the interplanetary age. So yeah, it's definitely Earth. And they like poo-poo this historian. They play her down. They're like, you can't like go look. You have to study the literature. Only opinions derived from the existing literature have any merit. And I'm like, there is a difference between a person who creates the history and the people who are just reading what others have said.
Yeah, there is a difference, but it's all kind of under the same umbrella. Yeah, Deviant's got it. She says, no, there's no difference. But there's history and there's historiography, the study of history and this of this study of history. So it's like it's still kind of under the umbrella of historian, but specifics matter in that context. And yeah, I mean, there's stuff like archaeology and all that stuff that's super important to history too. So you can't discount all that.
They all overlap together. I guess it's like, is there a difference between a musician or and a person who listens to a lot of music,
Yeah, in that case, I would say yeah.
Yeah, because it's not perfect, but it's a fairly close analogy, I think.
Yeah.
That said, to be a good musician, you also need to be familiar with a large swath of music. So you could be a person who listens to a lot of music.
It's like you're getting halfway there. And like the historian that actually writes history is the one that goes all the way there, as far as like person who listens to a lot of music, and then you have the musician who also listens to a lot of music but can also play. So
yeah, it's an interesting discussion. You know what else is an interesting discussion? The fact humans can play Doom on damn near anything. You may have heard recently there's been some popular reports. I wouldn't say news reports exactly, because the more people are using AI, the more of our news is just straight up fake, like completely fabricated. But especially here in the US, where we have like state media, so we can't verify anything objectively. But Great Aided Sith brings up, can you play Doom on a mimetic polymetal alloy Terminator, referencing the T-1000 from the Robot Tangent? We can, according to these popular sci stories, play Doom on brain cells. Apparently, somebody took like a small cluster of brain cells, well, neurons. They're only brain cells if they're part of the brain, but put them on a chip, and now they are running Doom. So like, human brain cells can run Doom. We can play it on we can play it on a fucking potato, probably. I don't know. Anyway, short break, and then we'll do video stuff. Let's do a conspiracy, because I feel conspiratorial today. Yes.
Are you feeling the world is leaving you behind? Do you look at all the pseudoscience, rumors, and wild speculation on the internet and wonder, why can't I do that? Well, friend, you can. We can help you. We are Conspirowin. Conspirowin has a long history of helping anyone with a hidden truth. We will get your message out. The conspiracy theories you see today all started out with one person's vision. The moon landing hoax was launched by a NASA engineer whose manager didn't okay his vacation request. Conspirowin was there to help out. Christianity started out because one little girl named Mary got pregnant out of wedlock, and Conspirowin saved the day. Now, the virgin birth is accepted Catholic doctrine. You may be thinking, but my idea of the center of the earth being made of ice is far-fetched. No one's going to believe that. In a world where people believe windmills cause cancer, we say no dream is too big. Conspirowin will take your fledgling idea and feed it to our YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok operatives. And these savvy social media professionals will raise doubts with the prevailing scientific consensus. They will say no one has ever seen the planet's core except Jesus. And science is wrong all the time. That's why science has theories and not Jesus. Within 30 days, we guarantee you CNN will run a story on how your conspiracy theory isn't true. We will also give you 100% assurance Fox News will say your crazy idea about the Earth's core being an icy ball is true. Follow your heart. Listen to the voices no one else can hear. Team up with Conspirowin.
Hashtag not sponsored. You know, that's a fun idea, though. Like, I realized that Chris was just like coming up with the most absurd thing he could think of for the central conspiracy to pitch, but like, you could make a case for the center of the earth being solid ice, because ice, as we've mentioned many times, liquid water depends on both temperature and pressure. If either one of them is off, vapor or solid. And if you have like the right pressures, the temperature doesn't actually matter. And the center of the earth more than exceeds the minimum pressure to keep water frozen in an ice state, as in the state of matter kind of state, regardless of its temperature.
Yeah, that's why it's an iron alloy down there, even though it's way hotter than the melting point. It's all the pressure.
It's fun. What else is fun is also gravity. Like, as there's a weird balancing act between pressure and gravity, because pressure comes in from all sides and gravity is directly towards the center of mass. And it's weird because as the pressure increases, the gravity decreases because you're moving towards the center of mass. And at the very center of mass, you're at maximum pressure because the entire planet is pushing down on you from all sides, but also zero gravity.
Yeah.
There's this gets more extreme in stars. There's astrophysical hypotheses that the cores of certain stars are black holes for just that reason.
Oh, yeah. fuck, what are they called? Yeah, but like the center is a black hole. Yeah. I don't see how it wouldn't eat itself out of the star though, with it like pretty quickly.
If you could eat yourself out, never mind. That's a different website. There's hypotheses that the radiation pressure holding up the outer layers is the radiation pressure regardless of whether there's an event horizon underneath it or not, right? Like photons beyond the event horizon don't have to escape because they can't escape anyway because there's matter in the way. So the event horizon is just a philosophical idea, but we're not talking about escaping as in getting all the way out. We do know that photons can make it past the event horizon, but still get pulled back in. That's just the point of no return where they can never get away, right? So you can have radiation pressure coming from inside an event horizon as long as the photons don't have sufficient velocity compared to the gravitational drag to actually escape, you know?
Yeah.
It's the math gets weird, but no, I don't see that as really viable, like that big of a gravitational gradient. But as we've often pointed out, when you're away from the immediacy of the funnel part of the gradient, it doesn't actually matter. If you replace the sun with a black hole of equal mass, it will make no difference to Earth's orbit because it's entirely the mass that matters, you know?
Yeah. We just keep moving with no sun. Nothing would change. Except we wouldn't have a sun, so everything would freeze, but...
Well, yes, but also there's the possibility of an accretion disk forming and creating something vaguely sun-like around it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we'd get way more X-rays than we do now, but we'd get radiation.
Yeah. Ooh, those X-rays. But yeah.
Yeah, it's an adventure. I often wonder, one of the reasons we evolved the way we did is because of the conditions we evolved in. And so we think of aliens under all kinds of different weird conditions. You know, Project Hail Mary's coming out, which is a phenomenal book. One of my top 10 favorites. I've read it like 5 times. It's got an alien in there where they imagine, well, there's multiple aliens, but one alien in particular where it's like a rock-based life form. Like, I mean, from a certain point of view, we're rocks, but it's not important. The point is, like, we can be more imaginative. Things don't have to be humanoid and roughly human friendly ranges of temperature and pressure and liquid water and seeing in the visible spectrum and all this crap. This is super human centric. It's solar centric, in fact, because we see the color spectrum we see because our sun emits its peak radiation in that spectrum. All that is to say, if you had a star that emits most strongly in the X-ray, it would be lethal to us because we didn't evolve for it. But that doesn't mean you can't have life that did. And to them, we would be orbiting a star that's way too cold, and we would see what to them would be the equivalent for us of somebody who sees in radio waves, you know? Yeah. I digress a lot, but y'all know that. You'll know how we do here.
Tangents. It's a tangent.
Right. History stuff. I know. See, people have suggested that I try to shorten things up by keeping the show as it is and then clipping out the relevant storytelling part of the show and making it into like a regular video and then releasing it as a regular video. And then it'll be under the 60 minutes and yada, yada, yada. The problem is I tangent so damn much that it would take me all day to edit one show to remove all my random asides. I'm the worst. I'm terrible at this. Anyway, but we are trying a different way this coming week, which it'll be experimental, but I hope for science, I hope you come along. All right. Anyway, I promised historian video. Let's hit it.
This is a view along the East River in New York City near today's Pier 36 at the foot of Montgomery Street in Manhattan. In the 19th century, there was a series of commercial piers here, numbered differently than they are today, and on this approximate location was Pier 50. On November 5th, 1872, a 103-foot-long sailing ship, a brigantine called the Mary Celeste, left the dock at this location on a voyage bound for Genoa, Italy. On or about November 25th, 148 years ago this week, out in the eastern part of the North Atlantic, something happened to this ship that remains mysterious. In fact, the Mary Celeste mystery is probably the most well-known maritime mystery of modern times, and there's been a lot of speculation about it, most of it completely ridiculous. In this video, we'll examine the classic mystery of the sea and hope to answer the question, what really happened to the Mary Celeste?
I really enjoy that 360 we got, which is clearly from like either, Google Maps Street View or something similar, where it was a person standing there with a 360 lens and it was the screen that was rotated, not the image.
It looked good.
It just amuses me. Also, maybe I misheard, but did he say 173 feet?
Maybe? I don't know. I am bad with.
It's probably not super important, but there's nothing about the original incarnation of the Mary Celeste, the version, the as-built version that was involved in this story, because it got rebuilt in Gibraltar. Its longest dimension was straight up length, and that was 99 feet. So the 100, 170, 117, whatever it was, it threw me. I'm like, starting with incorrect details is not the best place to begin here, buddy, but okay.
No.
I'm Sean Munger. I am a historian and I teach history courses online. You can see what I've got on my website, seanmunger.com. I've got a free...
Buy my DVDs. He's not a grifter. I don't get the vibe he's a grifter, and I get that we all have to do the capitalism, but also like starting out your story with, okay, before we go to my website. Incidentally, go to my website, betterthanember.com. All my links, tons of research, and also the pride flags, the space pride flags I've been making. If you're new here, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm making space pride flags to spite the tiny tyrant for science. Check those out at astralpride.com. And I'm working on making a promo video, so I don't have to just fumblingly talk about them. I can just fucking show you, but I can show you one of them because I have a graphic for it. It's like this. It's one of these. It's the progress, the intersex inclusive progress pride flag made from space. So yeah, and there's more. I've made so many more. So check that out. You can find it at the store link at betterthanember.com, or just go to astralpride.com if you want it shorter, want it easier to get to. So yeah.
Free webinar coming
this capitalism brought to you by this guy's capitalism. Yeah.
Up on December 22nd called How Historical is Indiana Jones? And if you click on courses offered, you'll see the history courses I've got on offer right now. I've got a course on the Vietnam War, another one on understanding Vladimir Putin, and a free course on the Pearl Harbor attack. The Mary Celeste, probably the most famous ghost ship of all time, is a complicated topic. Numerous books have been written about this event, most of them useless, a few of them very good. There's
also ignited a lot of imagination. Like I mentioned, Arthur Conan Doyle's not really imagination of what happened, where he just misspelled the name of the ship and then made up a totally different story. But the idea of ghost ships in general, it's always been a thing, but having it happen right in that age, that dawn of the Jules Verne style authors, that kind of took off a whole genre of mysterious abandoned ships. Are there ghosts? Was it the plague? What's happening? The mysteries at sea. It was a genre for a while.
It was mermaids. It's always mermaids.
That's probably true. I have no information to falsify that assertion. Yep.
Mermaids.
There's no way that I can hope to cover everything relevant.
You're what now?
I'm wearing my mermaid pirate shirt. It's the closest I got.
Avast lubbers. I was thinking about wearing something nautical, but I don't have anything nautical handy. And that's kind of that tears me up a little. Like, I've always been nautical since I was very, very little. My favorite fucking show when I was tiny was The Voyage of the Mimi with baby Ben Affleck on it. I didn't know that at the time. I found it out years later. I love the sea shanty sound of the theme music and the sailing. And like, I have a ghost story of my own. I know I'm tangenting again, but this is somewhat relevant. When I was very little, we changed addresses a lot, and we moved into this one house that had like abandoned spaces, like weird spaces. Okay, so a lot of older houses have crawl spaces that small children can get into easily. This house had something like a crawl space, except it was like a secret door at the bottom of a closet, right? So like, I went into my closet because I was a curious child and was always poking around at stuff. And like underneath the coats and clothings and whatnot, there was this little like trap door, but it was in the wall instead of the floor. And so I lifted up the trap door and there was another room on the other side. It wasn't like a finished room. You could see like the bones of the house kind of thing, but it was a room rather than just like a crawl space. And so I go in there and I look around and there's a window. Somehow, I guess nobody counted the windows and found there was space missing, but whatever. There's a window. There's a rocking chair right by the window. And on the rocking chair, there's a pillow that was like, it was like fishing lines and hooks and like lures and such on it. And there were a few other things in the room too, but like, I took the pillow and I still have the pillow. It was my favorite pillow. I called it my fishy pillow because I didn't realize that it was fishing equipment. And my mother was like, where the fuck did you get that? And I tried to tell her about the secret room, but like adults do, she wasn't particularly interested in listening to me. She was like, no, there's no secret room, dear. And I'm like, then where did the pillow come from? You know? Anyway, nautical stuff. Always fascinated. I wanted to be a sailor when I was little, but like a sailor, like modern Navy, not the same thing. I wanted to play on the tall ships. I thought they were so cool. Maybe someday. I have a few different options for retirement. One is I won't retire because capitalism is going to kill us all before I get that far. Yeah. But one thing that I'd like to do is have an orchard because I grew up on a farm. I do not have the strength I did when I was a child, but an orchard I think I could manage, and that would be pretty neat. Another possibility is just grab some rum and go fucking sailing. Yes, sailing is a lot of hard work, but also, I don't know, there's something indescribable about sailing along in the middle of the ocean, no land in sight, no light pollution, just all the stars, you know? Yeah, also hurricanes. Hurricanes are indescribably intense at sea, but whatever. And I'm tangenting again. I have to stop. Focus, Ember.
Focus.
About the ship in this short video, but I'm going to try my best to hit the highlights. The Mary Celeste was a cargo ship, and the voyage on which she departed on November 5th, 1872, was purely a commercial one. The cargo was 1,701 barrels of alcohol, what they call denatured alcohol, which means it had been treated to be toxic so that people couldn't drink it. The alcohol was probably destined for factories in Europe to be used in some sort of industrial process. The ship was under the command of Benjamin Spooner Briggs, 37 years old, from Marion, Massachusetts, and a seasoned commercial mariner. Briggs was devoutly Christian, a Congregationalist in the good New England tradition, and a teetotaler. He was nervous at carrying alcohol on board.
A guy who, in fairness, if you need to send a shipment of alcohol, even if it's industrial alcohol, you want the guy who does not drink, like, yes.
His wife, Sarah Elizabeth Briggs, and their daughter, Sophia, just a baby, were also on board. The Briggses also had a son, Arthur, who luckily did not go on the voyage. The Mary Celeste sailed out into the open ocean on November 7th.
Wait, so he brought a woman and a baby on. Well, I mean, I'm all for equality, obviously, but like in the 19th century, that was how you got curses, you know? You don't do that because you get curses.
A little less than a month later, on December 4th, 1872, she was spotted on the horizon by another ship, the Dei Gratia, sailing erratically westward, the wrong direction. Because I love to use Google Maps, I'll show you the exact position where the ship was found. Here it is. About 430 miles due.
Also fascinating to me that in the late 1800s, without GPS, without Google Maps, sailors were able to pin down their exact position for things in the middle of the ocean. Like, I get navigators have been navigating for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they've gotten pretty good at it. But to do the navigation that way, to figure out where the hell you are, you have to do like precise readings, and you have to do them often, and you have to like keep records of readings versus other readings, and it's a lot of work. And so to be able to be like, yeah, we found the ship, boom, right here, that's impressive.
Yeah, it really is.
Due west of Lisbon, Portugal, almost an equal distance east of the Azores. She was headed for Genoa, Italy in the Mediterranean, but she would have had to enter the Mediterranean at Gibraltar, about 635 miles east-southeast of the position where she was found. Men from the Dei Gratia boarded the Mary Celeste. Exactly what they found on board has been disputed and clouded, but here's what we know from the historical record. The ship's rudder was intact. Some of the sails were tattered and flapping. The Mary Celeste had carried one boat usually, but that was missing. Notably, a couple of ropes, lines, they call them at sea, were hanging off the ship and dragging into the water.
That's an important note for the we jumped off the ship to let the hold air out hypothesis, because if you did jump off the ship, like you kept everybody got in the lifeboat and you stayed tethered to your ship so you could go back to it in a few hours, it's plausible that if something happened to those lines, and the fact there's more than one actually shows greater intentionality, because there's always the chance something could happen to one line. You know, it frays, it comes undone. A surprise storm comes in and jostles the ship and snaps the line, because a ship that big is really heavy. That's a lot of force on a line. So you want multiple lines. But if something happened, somebody went crazy and cut the lines, probably not. Somebody slipped and untied them, all of them, probably not. But the storm thing, if you've got multiple lines securing your lifeboat, it's more secure. But, 200 tons of ship all pulling on a rope at the same time, you could snap more than one that way,
One of them was a large line called the main peak halyard, which was found broken off. The wheel wasn't lashed, which you would do if you were setting a ship on sort of automatic pilot. The captain's chronometer, sextant, the navigation.
Well, you might, but also considering ropes are broken, it could be it was lashed and a rope broke, though then they would have probably found a broken rope, but not necessarily, because if they did get hit by a surprise storm, which seems to be the case since the sails are all tattered and shit, if people had been on board during the storm, they'd have reefed the sails. So the storm hit when there were no people around, which means it was after the fact, which meant like the storm hit them while people weren't on the ship. And if they were in a lifeboat trailing the ship, they still should have lashed the damn wheel. But the point is, the storm happened after the people departed.
Book, the register, and the ship's commercial papers all were gone. The logbook, however, was still there. It was in the first mate's cabin.
And that somewhat makes sense. Normally, you would expect to find the captain's log in the captain's quarters. Why it was in the mate's, who's to say? But if you were like leaving the ship, but not full on abandoning ship like you intended to return. I don't know. It's so strange to I'm trying to rationalize. Like, why would you take the ship's ownership papers but not the logbook? Because
the captain was drunk.
Return.
Because the captain was drunk and the first mate just missed it.
Yes. But we know the captain was a teetotaler.
It was the alcohol that was all over the ship. Remember, we said you just get drunk by walking onto the ship. So.
I wonder, is it possible to get drunk off of alcohol fumes? I suspect you could. I don't know, though.
Possibly. I mean, if enough of it got in your bloodstream, maybe, yeah.
Maybe that was the issue, is they were all drunk from the fumes and nobody thought very straight. Did you guys remember to tie the line? Oops, bye ship, you know? Oh my goodness. Deviant says, yes, it's very possible.
Okay.
So, I'm willing to entertain the possibility for sure.
Final log entry, a routine notation of position, was dated 8:00 a.m. on November 25th. There was also a
cool notation of position. They're also, now it's not completely unheard of for the mates to keep their own logs separate from the ship's log that the captain keeps, or it could have been delegated to the mate to do, like you keep the ship's log, but also there should have been a navigator's log, which is just positions and times, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
A map on the wall of the mate's cabin showing a plotting of the ship's course. The last marking was November 24th, seemed routine. It was more than 350 miles from where the ship was eventually found on December 4th. In the captain's cabin, they found the bed unmade, a woman's dress draped over a chair, and a child's toys stacked in the corner. But no...
That all makes sense, since we know there was the captain's wife and child on board. Yeah.
Sign of Briggs, his family, or anyone else. Various legends and subsequent accounts have it that there was food sitting out on the table in the galley as if the crew had just been sitting down to breakfast. That is not true. The food was all stowed. There's also reports that the stove in the galley was still warm. That's nonsense, of course. The ship had been abandoned by this time for many days. As for the crew...
In fact, it's quite possible, given that there is strong evidence there was a leak in the alcoholic cargo, and many of the crew, like their smoking paraphernalia was all stowed. That because of the alcohol fumes, there was like a no flame order given. And if that's the case, nobody's going to light the ovens. Duh. No. That's how you blow up your ship.
Crew's quarters, their valuables and clothes, including heavy weather gear, were all still there. They even left their tobacco pipes behind. Sailors tended to smoke a lot in the late 19th century. 2 hatch covers had been taken off. On a cargo ship of this nature, there were large openings heading down into the hold. These hatches were normally covered with wood or canvas, and these were found laying on the deck near the hatches. There was a lot of water sloshing around in the ship, but it wasn't sinking. The hull was completely intact. The water...
Now, to be clear, a bigger ship, especially a ship along these lines, you can take on quite a bit of water before you're anywhere close to sinking. And that's... I don't want to say it's intentional, but it's like an emergent property of the design. So you should be aware there's a couple of different ways you can build a ship. One of them is the way you see most wooden ships. Obviously, metal ships are a different animal. Most ships you'll see have like a smooth hull, and you get a stronger overall hull that way. It's a heavier vessel, you can carry more weight, but it needs more internal structure, and you have to like waterproof in between the planks to make sure it stays smooth and doesn't spring leaks and things. There's a risk of leaking building that way. The other way is called lap strake, which is it's shingles basically. It's you've got your layer of shingles, and then you've got another layer over it with an overlap, and then you've got another layer over that with an overlap, and so it creates this stepped appearance. but you can get away with a lot fewer internal supports, which makes the overall structure weaker, but makes the ship lighter. And an emergent property of that design is the lateral strength is greatly increased because the whole hull reinforces itself, but only in that one direction. If you hit it from a different direction, like say a giant kraken's tentacle comes down from above, snaps like a fucking twig. But you try to avoid the giant krakens, generally speaking. But
and the
one of
giant
the
whales.
cool features is that sort of ship is more resistant to leaks because as the wood gets wet, it swells up and it's self-securing. It becomes watertight by the wood being wet, you know? So if water tries to leak in, it actually gets more watertight. Lost my window. My window escaped. How dare.
Probably came in from the sloshing of waves across the bow and possibly rain in the several days that it seemed the ship had been sailing unmanned. Also, several doors and windows aboard the ship were open, as was a skylight. These are all important clues. Another important clue is this one. After the Dei Gratia brought the Mary Celeste into Gibraltar, where every inch of the ship was checked, the hold and its cargo were finally examined, and eventually the cargo was shipped on to Genoa, which was its original destination. A letter.
Yes, the commerce must commerce, regardless of how many people are lost at sea and things. But I mean, in fairness, Genoa is where they make Genoa salami, so that alcohol could have been very important. Like, we're not just talking an industrial process, we're talking producing food. It's not exactly non-perishable, but it's more preserved. It will keep a lot longer. That's why sausages of all kinds were invented, right? So if you're making sausages, you're making preserved foods with higher calorie amounts and more nutrients than trail rations kind of thing. Many lives could depend on that alcohol reaching its destination. Or it could be they were just polishing boots. I don't know.
From O.M. Spencer, U.S. Consul at Genoa, to the U.S. Consul in Gibraltar, dated April 26, 1873, read, quote, "There were landed 1,701 barrels of alcohol agreeing with the bills of lading, 9 of which were empty, a not unusually large number. Proof 93.35, specific gravity 0.815. The cargo came out in excellent condition."
I could calculate what that means. It doesn't matter, though.
And so much so that the consignee who wished to relinquish it in favor of underwriters could find no excuse for doing so. End quote. So you got that 1,701 barrels of alcohol, 9 of which were found empty. That was thought not to be.
That's an odd phrase, though, that adds some additional suspicion. Like, they were overly verbose, and I realize me saying that is saying something. They were overly verbose at the time, but the phrasing, the consignee who wished to relinquish it in favor of underwriters would have no cause to do so. The fact that comes up indicates that the original consignee didn't actually want it, which implies there may have been some kind of plot at work. Perhaps. Almost as if the shipment itself were sabotaged before it left New York. Now, I don't know what 9 leaky barrels of industrial alcohol is supposed to do. Possibly blow up the ship on the assumption that somebody would smoke at some point, but the captain did a better job. I don't know, but it's suspicious.
Unusual attrition on a voyage like this. So a total of 10 people are missing. 7 members of the Mary Celeste's crew, plus Briggs, his wife, and baby daughter. Numerous accounts give the number of crew members as 13, probably because it sounds spooky, but it's nonsense. There were 7 crew, plus the captain, and 2 passengers. 10 people, one of them a 2-year-old baby. So
I wonder if the 13 comes from the Doyle story as well, because there's not a single fact he got right. because he wasn't
Mhm.
trying to tell that story. He was trying to tell a different story based on the idea and using a version of the name to evoke public interest, you know?
There's the mystery. What could have caused these 10 people to abandon their perfectly seaworthy ship in the middle of the North Atlantic? The theories are legion. To be honest, most of them are kind of stupid. There was an inquest.
I love it when academics are just like, yeah, that's stupid. Like, no
Sometimes
putting around.
yeah, so sometimes you just have to say it. Sometimes you do.
It does save some time.
In Gibraltar in December 1872, just after the ship was brought in. You can find all kinds of accounts of the testimony at this proceeding. A lot of it has been distorted or even fabricated. The British authorities in Gibraltar seemed to favor some kind of foul play theory, and they investigated conjectures about the crew being.
Well, if you have like 10 people, including an infant, lost at sea, you have to investigate it as if it were foul play in case it is, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, there does reach a point where it's like, it probably wasn't. So, like, yeah, you still investigate it, but also look for other things that happened.
Well, I mean, that's why I like, there's the scientific approach and there's the criminal justice approach, right? Like the scientific approach is like, let's see what the evidence supports and then try to create a testable hypothesis. Whereas the criminal justice investigation is like, let's assume foul play. And I kind of get that, because while it's not as scientific, you're not necessarily going to get to as accurate a result. The prioritization on the human lives, I can definitely get behind, you know?
Yeah.
Like we need more of that, please.
A bunch of rowdy cutthroats. A sword was found on the floor of one of the cabins. There was a lot of talk at the inquest and afterward.
A note on that. It wasn't just a sword on the floor, like just laying there. It was sheathed in its scabbard, tucked under the first mate's bed, like exactly where you would keep a sword when you don't need one, you know, just in case we're boarded by pirates or whatever, you know? It's not like it was just lying in the middle of the galley, you know?
About what appeared to be bloodstains on it, and other supposed indications of violence like axe chops in the woodwork and such. As it turned out, the stuff on the sword was tested and found not to be blood. Subsequent examinations of the Mary Celeste found no indications at all of slash marks or any other kind of evidence of violence. Some writers riffing on this theory suggest that the crew got trashed on the alcohol in the hold, staged a mutiny, and took over the ship. And then
that's a fun idea. Who out there has ever been a teenager? Because many teenagers try industrial alcohol at least once at some point to see if it works. Like it does not. You get a very bad headache from it, just a little bit, you know? Like anyone who has ever been a teenager knows that's not a viable explanation.
What, abandoned it themselves? Not only does this ignore the fact that the alcohol carried aboard the Mary Celeste was not drinkable and deliberately manufactured to be not drinkable, but in fact this theory solves nothing, because now you have to explain why the mutineers abandoned ship and why they did it while leaving all their valuables behind. Pirates were a big deal in popular consciousness in the late 19th, early 20th centuries, still today, so naturally a lot of explanations center around this idea.
I don't know that we know they left all their valuables. Like, obviously, if the captain took the ownership papers of the ship, I don't know, that's weird, because, like, leaving their stuff because they intended to return makes sense. But, like, then why bring the ownership papers? I don't get it. Like, that's a big question mark for me.
Yeah.
Also, I'm randomly noticing odd things about this man's room. And like some things are there clearly for decorative reasons, like the typewriter on his back shelf and the various movie posters and things. But his door has no knob. There's a hole where the knob should be. And I'm very curious what's going on with that.
It might be one of those sliding doors. The pocket doors.
Maybe. Those are very
My grandmother's
cool.
house had a whole bunch of those.
I used to have, I had such a nice house. Once upon a time, the period in my life when I was least poor, I was operations manager at a repossession company. And I didn't make a ton of money, but I found a really old house that had been through a major fire. And so it was structurally sound, but damaged. And it was in a bad neighborhood where the police were called every night or whatever. But it was effectively a mansion and it had a completely fenced off backyard. And so we're like, this will be a nice place to start out, right? Like, well, our kids are still very, very small. This will be nice. And it had 2 floors that were still usable. The uppermost floor had been fucked up by the fire, but we didn't actually, like, there was 5,000 square feet of usable space. And then having the attic being like partially empty and partially destroyed. And also I found a secret room up there too, but that's another story for another time. The point is, it was old, like really old. Like there was lath and plaster walls. There was like former chimneys that had been sealed over. The passageway was still there behind the, and pocket doors. It was so fancy. It had like a kitchen with a double swinging door to a proper dining room with a chandelier and everything, which led into a lounge area, which led into a double living room that you could split in half into 2 separate sitting rooms by pocket doors. It was huge and it was so cool. But then the bank stole my house. But it was nice while it lasted. I really like that place.
Again, you've got problems with the pirate hypothesis. Yes, there were pirates who sometimes preyed on shipping in the Eastern Atlantic in the 1870s. But pirates are motivated by profit. Again, valuables were left behind, including 1,701 cases of alcohol. So what?
The big old kegs. Yes, that's the issue. Maybe pirates took the ship, didn't kill anybody, but was like, you can keep your lives, but you're getting off in the lifeboat. Puts them in the lifeboat, sends them off on their way, goes down, was like, oh, look, it's alcohol. They tried to drink it. It's the wrong kind of alcohol, and got violently ill and went back to their ship, and something went bad. I don't know. The Mary Celeste got away. Probably not. Probably not. No, but still, it's a possibility. It's not, but it might be.
They just attacked the ship just for the hell of it, threw everybody overboard and sailed away. Not too likely. Where's the profit in that? Pirates, as it turns out, are a pretty poor.
It is possible that pirates took a ship and they didn't, like, sometimes if pirates will if you surrender, they won't kill you. That's the point of surrendering to them, so they don't kill you, you know? So you take everybody, shove them into the lifeboat, off you go. Good luck to you. You know, you will spare your lives because you surrendered. Now you have the ship to yourself. You have no idea what's on it. You go down because you don't know what's on the ship before you take it. You can't tell from the outside what's in the hold. So they take the ship, they go down, they see the hold is full of industrial alcohol, and they're like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? I can't drink it. I'm a pirate. I can't go into port and try to sell it. This is useless. Fuck it. We're out of here, you know? That's not impossible. But of course, it's also completely conjecture. I have no reason to think so. Bree says it was aliens. It clearly was.
That's what I said. I said it was aliens or mermaids.
Why not both?
Alien mermaids?
Ghost alien mermaids, because mermaids notoriously no shoes.
True. Yes. No
Ghost
shoes
alien mermaids. Yes. Pirate ghost alien mermaids.
Oh my god, yes.
Avast ye lovers. Shiver me timbers. They made them walk the plank. We'll kill all you scallywags.
That's what I'm going with.
For nautical theme.
What's that?
That's where I'm going with. Ghost alien mermaids. Pirate mermaids.
All right. Love it. Love it. All right. Of course, there's more video, but we're already over time. So yeah, I'm content to go with that for the answer. Alien, ghost, pirate, mermaids. We solved it, folks.
That's it.
All right.
Right.
As I mentioned earlier, but if you're joining us later, this stream will take you over to Lil's for a premiere. It's a short video, but it should be a fun video. And tomorrow we are doing mermaids. We're going to explain what happened to the Mary Celeste. We're doing mermaids tomorrow. Friday we're doing Friday the 13th Killers. It should be devilish, perhaps. And then things are getting weird going ahead. You know what? I need to stop explaining what's coming up on shows because these shows need to be watchable independently of what's happening around them. And I need to cut down the time. Anyhow, thank you, Lil, as always. It's been a blast.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for joining. And, you know, as always, it's lovely seeing you. And try not to die. Watch out for murder mermaids, you know. Mwah. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for February. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Maya Adkison, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Lilith, Emberlyn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lilibal Trades, Deviant Outcast, Secular Feelinist, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, Geo Sam, Thriver Scapegoat, The Godless Engineer, Why? Because Weed Bro, Katie Bluebird, and Fro from Norway. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which also includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt.